everyone who's a wine lover or a wine enthusiast or whatever names they give to the people who like to drink wine or are just normal drunkards who identify themselves as wine lovers because they want to look more French and better in the eyes of other people, even though it's 9 a.m. and you're having half of a bottle of wine. You are also included and welcome to listen to us today in this podcast because I have a wine expert, a wine taster, and not a sommelier. And we're going to talk about why he's not a sommelier. His name is Iker. He's from Spain. And I'm very happy to have him with me here today because he's gonna so I'm so ignorant when it comes to wine, so he's gonna help me out on this. Let's see if he's gonna help you out on this to better choose your wine next time. Hi, Iker.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today with you. And yes, I really hope I can help everyone with all these questions you might have. Yes, I'm excited
Yeah.
about this.
So let's see. For thank you for climbing the stairs and coming up here. I know you had an intervention in your leg, and
hmm
I know you are recovering very good. So thank you for leaving home and coming. Also, I'd like to know first, why are you in Vienna? And
So,
from when are you in Vienna?
so I came to Vienna almost 10 years ago. Exactly would be 10 years in September. So when the academic course starts. I came in, yeah, so 10 years ago from Spain because I was in my chemistry degree, which is what I was studying.
A
Uh,
chemistry degree.
chemistry, yeah.
That sounds like rocket science. I mean, how can someone do chemistry degree? Is it hard or?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I was very young when I started university. I'm born in November, so I was actually 17, and in high school and school, I never really had big trouble, to be honest, and good for
Mm.
me. So when I started university, I didn't know, or before starting university, I didn't really know the options you have once you're grown up and so on. So I just chose my favorite subject in school, which was chemistry,
Mm.
because it was a lot of understanding, which I had, and not so much of learning by heart. um, yeah, well, it might sound funny, but this is pretty much one of the reasons. I didn't really think much about it. I thought like, okay, what should I do when I go to uni chemistry? That sounds.
Let's pick chemistry. It sounds easy to me.
Yeah, I mean, chemistry. To be honest, I have taught chemistry to many people in the school while I was in university to earn some extra money. So as a private
Here in
teacher.
Austria, you mean?
No, this was in Spain.
In
This was
Spain.
in Spain. And what I realized is people either understand it like, and then they know what they're doing, or they
Never get it.
don't get it. And it's like, so it's a very, you could call it polarizing science,
Yeah.
you know? And I was one of the lucky ones. So I chose to do that. And I was in my fifth year of the degree, so the last one when I came to Vienna. I
It was a master already? Or?
Yeah, so in when I started, it was the old plan. So before this Bologna change, so we
Mm.
didn't have a bachelor's and master's. We have the so-called licenciatura in Spain, which is like a diploma. And it
Mm.
was a 5-year diploma
Okay.
equivalent to a master's. And I finished my last year, my diploma with it in my university in Spain. They said like, okay, that's fine. You send your record, your records, don't have to come back and do an exam. So I was like, okay, great. So I basically stayed, and yeah.
And then you moved here. I mean, you stayed here, and how's it going so far? It's been almost 10 years, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. After that, I was thinking of okay, the good thing or the thing it's clear to me is I want to stay in Vienna because I love it. I love the city, especially when I finish it. When I finished the degree, let's say with the
Yeah.
academic year, it was June, so I enjoyed the summer in Vienna, which is a great thing, right?
Yeah.
If any of you
It's the
have,
best thing.
yes, exactly. If you guys have spent the summer in Vienna, you know everything you can do, and it's like nice weather. The days are long. It's super fun, and I wanted to stay longer. And I thought like, okay, what could I do? And I was searching for different positions. So
Mm.
I already knew or was quite sure chemistry. It's fine. Would be my let's say my job, my profession. but it was not my passion, put it that way. There's some other people, especially in science like chemistry, maths, physics, that they love what you're doing. For me, it was fine, but yeah.
So that's how you started to, let's say, to channel yourself towards wines, because it was the nicest part of your job.
Wine was still not an option back then. I was still pretty young, and although I drank wine back then, my knowledge and so on was not so developed. I was already thinking, what can I do? And it was not clear to me. But still, I was looking for a position in chemistry to get my first working experience. And it was a bit tough because I missed the summer and it was already September, October. And apparently, most of the people here at the university, when they do internships, especially in science and chemistry, they would do it in summer. So with the new academical year, it was difficult to find an internship for me. And also jobs. I was missing a working experience. So
was language a problem?
Not really, because
you spoke German already.
Yes, a little bit, and most of many positions were written in English. Of course, if my German would have been better, my options might have been better as well. But I didn't really consider that to be the major problem. I thought it was more my lack of working experience. And then, so after a few months later, I saw this position at the other university. So I first was at the technical university for my Erasmus, and then at the University of Vienna, I saw this PhD position, which was very interesting because the topic was very close to what I did in my master's, let's say, my diploma. So I changed there. I went there and I did my PhD. But while I was doing my PhD, then I got even more sure, or I was even more sure, I got more convinced that this was not what I wanted to do forever, because it was working too much in a specific topic, too deep in it. And I saw my colleagues how they would love what they were doing. You would meet them after uni for a drink, and they would talk about what they did today and so on. And I was like, okay, I had enough today.
When you were meeting them for a drink, you started concentrating on the drink. So you said, wine.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and actually this is when it started. Then I also met my partner, and I developed more my interest through for wine.
Yeah.
And eventually I really got into it, like as a as a consumer, as a wine lover, but not from the expert side. And so this is like 1-2 years while I was in my PhD. And by the time I finished my PhD, I was totally fascinated with wine. And some people told me like, okay, you should do this. You don't really want to work as a chemist. Why don't you work with wine? And I was like, come on, please. Sounds like a crazy idea.
Yeah.
I've been 10 years in university focused in chemistry. Why should I do it through wine? And now this is what I do, wine. So
would you be able to, let's say, to summarize for us in short steps how wine is made?
Yeah, sure.
But for dummies, because we don't understand many specific.
So wine, by definition, by law in Europe, and therefore, let's say in the whole world, basically has to be. This might sound very stupid, but this is an important fact. It is the fermented grape juice. So first of all, you harvest the grapes in harvest season, which is end of summer, beginning of autumn. Then you will press them for white wine, and you will mash them for red wine. So this is the main difference first for white wine and red wine. So
also the color of the grape, I guess?
Exactly, yes.
So, yeah. Also, they don't get, let's say, operated in the same way? You don't press them with your legs?
There are some regions where they still do it, and actually for the best wines that you would want to have. But this is a very good technique. I don't want to get so much into details, but like the human feet are very, very soft, so they will like press the grapes perfectly without breaking the what do you call them? The seeds. Sorry, the seeds of the grapes and the stems without breaking them.
Okay.
So this is a very good technique, but of course it requires a lot of man work, which is very expensive.
I think these small canteens, when they just produce 100 bottles or less, they still do it. I know some in countries that are still in development, they still do it this way. I think they do it because they can't afford machines or industrial machines, but as you're saying, I think it's better this way.
Maybe in some countries in Eastern Europe, very small batches. And certainly for port wine, for premium port wine in Portugal, they do it because
So you're saying that the wine made like this, it's more expensive?
uh, I mean, there's so many details behind, but for the pressing itself, it's perfect. But you
Mhm.
need to be careful of many other things. So it might have disadvantages if you don't do it at the right moment, and yeah, it's not easy to
Okay.
say. So let's say it can go very well, but it can also go
Yeah.
bad very fast if
And
you
then
don't
what's the
control
next
it.
step? Let's say we pressed it already.
Okay, so you take white grapes and you press them,
Mhm.
then you will start doing a white wine. If you take red grapes
Yeah.
and you press them right away, you will do a rosé wine. But if you
A
mash them,
rosé? The
exactly.
rosé comes out naturally like that? Sparkling, kind of?
No, not sparkling, but like still rosé wine. So rosé
Okay.
from Provence, for example.
Always looks a bit sparkling to me, the rosés.
They're certainly mm, within the sparkling wines a big amount of rosé sparkling, but there's definitely still
Yeah.
wine means without not being sparkling.
But the sparkling is artificial, of course. Also for Proseccos and
yeah, I mean the sparklings
champagnes.
are very different ways of producing them. So let's say the best quality ones go through a second fermentation. So let me explain. Let me
Sure.
give you the whole explanation first how you do it. Like first, so you as I said you harvest the grapes, you press them for white and rosé, and you mash them for red wine. Then it ferments with autochthonous yeast that might be on the grapes or other yeast. That's also very good nowadays. And then you will have like kind of the wine already. Then just some treatments that you have to do so the wine keeps stable. And basically, you can age it or not. You can have an aged wine, so Reserva or Gran Reserva or Reserva, depending on the country, there are different terms. And you can bottle it. So that's basically like very fastly summarized. If you're doing sparkling wine, going to your question, there's a second fermentation. So the best sparkling wines, let's say champagne, it goes to a second fermentation in the bottle.
In the bottle?
Yes. Once you have your wine and you have stabilized it, then you will add some yeast and sugar to it, and it ferments again in the bottle. That means when the grape juice ferments, the yeast eats this sugar, the natural sugar from the grapes, or in the case of champagne, the one you have just added, and it will create alcohol and CO2, so carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
And this carbon dioxide is trapped in the bottle.
That's how it becomes sparkling?
This is how it becomes sparkling. For Prosecco, it's also made like that, but not in a bottle, but in a whole tank. So you have a tank with the wine, you will add yeast and sugar, it will ferment, and you need, of course, special tanks that can bear that pressure, and then you will filter it under pressure, and you will fill it under pressure.
But how is it? This was pretty clear, thank you. But how is it with the age of wine? I'm still unclear. I heard someone that considers himself a sommelier. He always said that the wine that is done in the same year, it shouldn't be drank. So you have to wait at least to drink it the next year, right? Is it correct? I mean, you can drink it. You're not gonna die, but I mean, you're not gonna sense it as you should.
So in wine, there's a very important thing. We will call it wine styles. You know, there are many kinds of styles. Let's say the best wines, generally speaking, would be wines that would profit from aging, but not all of them. So there are some wines, let's say easy drinking wines, uncomplicated wines you should just enjoy within a year. Actually, I would say in Austria and Central and Northern European countries, this style is very popular, and you will find many wines that would actually be better drunk in a year. If you want an example, in Vienna or in Austria, you find the Gelbe Muscatella.
Yeah.
Usually, it would be a wine you would drink within the first year.
Yeah. Actually, now I remember that I don't usually see Austrian wines that are very old. Let's say in the supermarket, they're mostly 2 years old or something like this. Not 5 years, 7 years. Like I actually find the Spanish wines.
Yeah, this is a very important question, or a very interesting question. First of all, to say the wine, it's kind of like a living product, you know. It's like, the wine changes with time, and so the most important thing when drinking, when the question comes, when should you drink this wine? The first important thing is when you like, because it's how do you like it better. You should know what happens to the wine with the age. So a wine when it's young, it will be fruitier. It would have maybe like the aromas will be more intense, and usually like fresh food, fruit. So
Yeah.
when it gets older, you will start noticing more like the dried or cooked fruit aromas, plus some nuts like walnuts and hazelnuts aromas, caramel, and this kind of aromas. If you prefer this kind of wines, then
You
you
should let
should
it
wait.
age.
If you prefer like fresh, more intense aromatic wines, then you should drink it young. And certainly in Austria, the general palate, let's call it that way, is of drinking like fruitier wines. So that's why they prefer to drink them young. However, there are of course wines that are aged and they are drunk later, and these ones are usually of higher quality and higher prices. So many of them are also not sold in supermarkets,
Yeah.
because even though you will find good wines in the supermarkets, so as well depends on the supermarket. Most of the wines there are usually for people that don't, let's say, um, focus so much on wine, and they wouldn't go to a specific wine shop to buy their wines.
Where could we buy this? Can you mention a name? Where can we go and buy these rare, let's say, wines? Because if we don't find them in normal supermarkets, are there places in Vienna for that?
Yeah, definitely. There are a few like wine shops, and
Would you can you recommend us?
So
one?
Wine and Co.
Wine and
It's,
Co.
for
has some?
example, a very good option because you have a very good and big selection.
There's a huge one here near Stephansplatz. Is that the biggest one, or is there anyone bigger?
Yeah, might be the biggest one. At least it is the
well, among the biggest one for sure.
And the one with the finest selection. I mean, maybe that won't be so interesting for the ones listening, because everyone is going to buy this kind of wines, so will already know you can buy them. So there. So, but yeah, I mean that's of course an option. There's in Schottland another one, and there's a huge amount of vinotheques and shops specialized in wine in like 7th district, 8th district.
If you have a name, you can freely say it, and if you want to say it, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really come anyone.
Some place that you like that people can taste good wine or old wine or things that they don't find in the supermarket.
So in the
could be a bar, not just a store.
In the 5th district, there's a place called Pub Clemo, which is a wine bar, and they also have a wine shop. So
Pub Clemo, you said?
Clemo.
Okay.
So Pub, like P-U-B,
yeah.
Clemo, K-L-A-M-O. This place has a wine shop just in front of the other side of the street, and they have a very good selection of wines, for example. Yeah, I mean, there's so many shops. And many of them have opened during the last year. So I usually, to be honest, I order my wine online because when
from outside Austria.
Not necessarily, but I order maybe from Wine and Co. But I actually never go to the shop. I just where I want to check it online.
Don't you like this feeling of touching the bottles, reading behind them? Like bookstore, it's like ordering books online. It still doesn't have the same feeling as going to a bookstore, looking through them, smelling them. I mean, you don't smell much in the bottles of wine because they are
that's
sealed.
An interesting thing. So,
or you are used to this. You've been doing this for so long, and now you smell them through the internet.
I already know what I'm buying. So for many people, it would be nice to go to a wine shop and ask the sommelier working there or the person working there, which wine would you recommend me, and he or she would give you some hints, and maybe you would say, okay, I'd like this, I would try it or not. But for me, I would say my experience is enough that I know what I'm buying, and I buy where I want to have. So, and you shouldn't forget, wine is heavy. Like if you want to buy like 6 bottles of wine, and it's not around the corner, then you have to carry it. So this is the main reason why I always order wine. And I order a lot from the Interspar Weinwelt, it's called, the wine world from Interspar. So in the Spar supermarket, I would say from the big supermarket chains, my favorite wine selection. So certainly not Villa, avoid that. You will just lose your time unless you go to Villa Corso or this like fancy, or the one that was what's the name, Mercur before Villa Plus. That has a good selection as well. Yes, but normal Villa. And Spar, it depends on how big it is. But generally speaking, I like the selection
Yeah,
quite good.
actually, I find many options also in interspars, the big ones.
Yes, in the Spar
I
definitely.
mean, for me, there are a lot because I don't get them that much.
Yeah, I would say Interspar is like for 99% of the wine drinkers and consumers, they would find
Yeah,
like you will have enough, of course.
but
Sometimes let's try something else.
yeah, to try to help out a little us that we don't know much about wine, and we go to the supermarket and we try to find a wine, but we go by price because you might know as well. Everybody knows it's not a secret that people go by price. It's not a big thing because who doesn't know wines? We see, all right, let's say a wine that could be nice for a dinner on the weekend. A normal family, let's say, would give it a budget 20 euros or something for
Mhm.
4 people. Let's say that they have guests home or something. And what would be, could you mention any wine that you know that we can find it in the supermarket and it's up to 20 euros? Because for, I mean, for more than 20 euros, I think the selection in supermarket is a bit low. If I'm not mistaken, I don't see many options above that.
Yeah, because 20 years actually. So now you're
You
saying
can
that.
get something good with it,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm quite surprised because you can start getting good things about 12, 15
Okay,
euros
even
already.
better.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you for
yeah.
letting me know. I've been
Sure.
wasting money so far.
No, no, no. You're never wasting money. I mean, never wasting money. It's exaggerated, but you know, these wine styles, you should. If you don't know what you're having, at least it's good to give it a try. Maybe
Mm.
you would like it and you can buy it again, or not. But at least you have tried. Um, I don't want to say any name, and I don't want
Okay.
to say in style because I don't want to influence anyone with this
We want to be
decision.
influenced because we are clueless.
Yeah, but I rather want to give you like a hint how to choose.
Okay.
So uh, it's better to know a little bit what you're drinking and buying. So let's take an example. Let's take Austrian wine. Usually within the Austrian wine, almost all the regions nowadays they have like DAC status, which means like an
Denominazione di origine controllata.
yeah. In Austria, it has Latin name, but it's
Okay.
like a PDO wine
Uh-huh.
in Europe. It's called depending on the country. So usually it's like DAC, DOC, DOCG, something like that. And this is a typical wine from the region. So if you would buy that in Austria, in Lower Austria, let's take an example, you will have Grüne Veltliner and Riesling in most of the regions. So if you like any of those, you could start with try with these, and these would be divided into three levels. You have like the regional wine. If you take, for example, Bacau, you will have Bacau DSC. Then if you take the higher level, would be the towns wine, like the village wine actually. And this would be higher quality and more maybe interesting. But it's always nice for you to try. Maybe
Yeah.
you would like the other one better because it. So to understand wine and to like wine, it requires some understanding from before. Let's say from to have some experience. Sometimes the best wine, the wine is considered the best, you would like it least. So I always say try, and read what you're drinking and why you're drinking this. And then actually will be a third step, a third level, which is considered the best wines. And you keep in the case of the Bacau, you will have the Rieden or like the Cruz from Bacau, which produce excellent wines. They're like really world class.
Okay.
And this one, of course, will cost more, but these are excellent wines. But that doesn't really mean you will like them more. You know, it's at the end of the day your personal taste.
So you mean that going by price, it's not always the best thing to do because
really.
you could find cheaper ones that you will like more than the one that you chose just by price.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's be fair. You shouldn't also say, okay, now I'm gonna buy the cheapest one because that's also probably not the best thing to do. But just try. If you wanna give it a chance, I would suggest you get 3 bottles of wine. You can go, maybe if the house is too expensive, you can go to Kremstal or I don't know, or Weissenthal, whatever, or even Vienna. Yeah, you can get like the regional wine, the village wine, and the cru, and just try. And then you will have an idea of, okay, which kind of style I like better, you know?
But how is it? Because you were mentioning Austrian wines.
Mhm.
Is it true that Austria produces very good red wine? I'm sorry, very good white wine, but not so good red wine.
They also produce very good red wine as well, but the thing is, they don't produce so much. And if you compare it internationally, that's the key factor. You know, if you compare it internationally, Austria is definitely one of the best countries in the world for white and sweet wine. Don't forget this. So if you ever heard the terms Beeren Auslese and Trockenbeeren Auslese, these two categories and some others, but specifically these two ones, are really world class, as well as the white wines. And the red wines, there's more competence. So, yeah, I mean, they're very good ones, but then if you really want to have a top wine, again, you might not like what it's considered to be a top wine from Austria, from some other region. Um, but you will have more difficulties to say this one is better than one from Italy or France or Spain. You know, especially Spain produces a very good quality value for money wines.
Yeah, I noticed that. Actually, one of my favorite wines that I buy for, let's say, everyday use, it's Spanish, and the prices are great comparing to the quality. How is it so? It's because the labor is cheaper in Spain than in France or Italy, or
Um, I mean, yeah. So Spain itself, the country is more sensitive to the prices, so the prices are lower because of that. This is also a reason why it's quite difficult to export wines to Spain. And in Spain, you would drink almost everything. You would drink local, at least from Spain.
because the price is very competitive.
Yes. So that's already from tradition from the Spanish society. And they're huge wineries that they produce huge amount of wine. That of course everyone knows. You know, the bigger the companies, the bigger the production is. You have to look at IKEA or H&M or something like that. They can produce. I'm not talking about quality now, but just because a huge quantity gives you the opportunity to have very competent prices, you know, and keep the prices low. Yeah, and there's lots of things behind it.
Yeah, I know this. To me, the most famous Spanish wine is Rioja.
Yeah.
Are there other types of Spanish wine that we should try? Let's say.
Yeah, I mean Rioja is the most famous one, and let's say you could even say Spanish flagship wines. You know, because it's big. It is for the price you will get a very good quality.
Yes,
usually.
and the age is always good. For example, you find a €7 bottle of wine of 2014. I see this all the time. The Gran Reserva of one company that I don't want to say the name. It's a Rioja, and it's very, very, very good. At least for me, which I'm the let's say a normal consumer that doesn't know a lot about wines.
So you like Gran Reserva, you actually like very, very aged wines.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Of course, in that case, you might not like Austrian red wine so much.
I don't.
That explains it. Yes, exactly.
I never pick them.
Very, very different taste profile. You know. It also depends.
Now I feel like you're reading to me the horoscope because these people where they show you they read you the fate in your hand. Yes. You're doing that. You found that's me.
Yeah, I mean, and certainly Spain, because of Spanish wine laws that have very specific rules for giving the age of the wines in the label. That means if it's Gran Reserva, it's very regulated, whereas in some other countries it's not so regulated. In some places in Italy it is, but for example in France and in Austria and so on, it's not. So you see the word Reserve in Austria, that usually doesn't really mean the wine is older. It might be, usually it is, but not doesn't have to, you know. That actually means in Austria that the wine has been aged in oak compared to the one that is not Reserve. Okay. So this is a difference, for example. In Spain instead, depending on the region, it's a different aging, but let's say we'll be talking about at least 1.5 to 2 years age, usually for Reserva, and Gran Reserva, of course, more.
I wanted to ask, how do they manage with this? For example, I see this 2014 wine all the time. It's never finished. It's in every supermarket of this branch of this company. Where will it be over someday, or how does it work with wines that are old?
Definitely.
But they have a lot. They keep selling it, and it's the shelves are always full of it.
Yeah, I
How
mean,
many did they produce? Millions of bottles.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. In Spain, if there's Spanish wines, or from especially from the so-called New World, so everything outside Europe, the productions are massive. I
Wow.
mean, massive. It's like dimensions that even for me sometimes are difficult to keep in my mind. But I mean, if this 214, this case, it's been sold now, that means this wine is an actual vintage. So actually, pretty soon, probably they will switch to the next one, to the 215, and then you will have it for 1 year, and then it will start to, like, will replace it the new vintage. Usually, it would go like that. It doesn't apply for every single wine. So everything. I mean, wine is a very complex world.
Yeah,
So everything I'm
definitely.
saying is not like just black and white, but generally speaking, it would be like that.
To give us, let's say, a recommendation, which would you choose among the red ones? For example, I know the Brunello, I know the this Cabernet Sauvignon, or
Yeah,
am I
Cabernet
wrong?
Sauvignon.
I know the Merlot, of course.
Hmm.
Rioja is
Hmm.
one of them. Who would you choose, or
This is a
tell
very,
us to choose?
yeah. First thing I like to say to this suggestion is, um, you're actually mixing two things in here. You're
Okay.
mixing one the grape variety, and you're mixing the PDO
What are these
status.
names that I said? What
So
does it
Cabernet
represent?
Sauvignon and Merlot are two grape varieties, whereas
Okay.
Brunello de Montalcino and Rioja are two PDO regions. So Rioja is a wine from the region Rioja that is made out of the grape varieties, basically Tempranillo and some Garnacha, and other grapes, right? And Brunello is Sangiovese, 100%. So this is the thing. When you're buying a Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot, it is from Austria, because these are so-called international varieties. They come
Okay.
originally from France, from Bordeaux, actually, but you will find them basically everywhere in the world. And yeah, if you're buying a Bordeaux or
It's
wine from
also
Bordeaux, it could be from these varieties, but also from
yeah.
Austria, or also
So
from Chile.
Bordeaux is in this case like the like a Rioja is the region in this case, right?
Yes,
But could be a Cabernet Sauvignon
it would be.
Bordeaux.
It would be probably
Okay.
either Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon, or both of them, or
But I
at least
never
a
see
part
these
of
two
them.
things written in the
Exactly.
same bottle. Why? So that's why I was confused.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to make clear this fact. So in the Roman countries, basically Italy, Spain, France, you will label traditionally the wines almost in every region, not in every single region, but almost in every region, or the most of its traditional regions, by the taste of the terroir, or the area. So this PDO, so like Denominazione di Origine
Yeah.
Controllata, or AOC, Appellazione di Origine Protégée, Contrôlée. So all these are it's the taste of the region. So you're buying a wine that tastes like that region, right? Or the DAC in Austria now.
So this was like branding back in time.
Yeah, kind of, yes. And in Austria and Germany, traditionally you will label the wines by the grape variety. So
Because they don't
Veltliner-
have famous regions that produce wines, right?
Well, they actually do, and back in the past they have some regions that are not found anymore, kind of, and some other state. I mean, Bacau is definitely a grape region.
Okay,
That you will produce typically, let's say two wines, Gruner Veltliner and Riesling, and you will have Bacau, but you will have still Gruner Veltliner or Riesling, and it tastes totally different. That's
Okay.
why you have these two, you know. Or in the Südsteiermark, even stronger, you have Gelbe Muscatella, you have Morillo, which is Chardonnay. You will have Pinot Gris, Grauburgunder, you will have Sauvignon Blanc, of course, how can I miss it? And these grape varieties taste super different from one to the other. They have nothing to do, but all of them are typical from that region. So you will have this variety in this region, which gives some specific character.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also, I guess Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is a region.
Yes.
Which
It's a wine, yes.
grape do they use mostly?
That is Montepulciano. We should know this. Because I wanted to say Sangiovese, but I'm not.
I have no idea. You can say whatever you like. I will trust you.
No, this is really shame. Is it Sangiovese as well?
Could be. See, they should write it in the bottles. Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, and then down there the name of the grape. They shouldn't leave us like this.
Never mind. Yeah,
It's all right.
it will
I
come
will
to me.
figure out. I will Google that later.
Yeah.
But moving a bit to you now, let's say,
Hmm.
how do you manage? I don't know how to ask this more politely, but how do you manage to make a living by being a wine expert, a
Yeah.
wine taster, and expert, of course?
Um, I mean,
Because a lot of people consider this a hobby,
yeah.
and they say, all right, he has a daily job, but he does this as a hobby on weekends. He has a nice Instagram page.
Hmm. So I work as a freelance most of the time, and since 3 weeks I've been working with a wine shop, very specialized wine shop, uh, with a part-time contract there. I do research and I write for them
Hmm.
for the magazine, so I'm not in the shop or anything. It's actually a flexible job, and
Okay.
I really like it very much. I'm learning a lot because it's very specialized again, as I said. And besides that, my freelance work is through Instagram, um,
Like
and
sponsoring, I mean, partnerships, promoting.
partnerships, but also I'm more working for the future somehow. It's an investment, so I don't really make a lot of money right now. So
Yeah.
most or like a huge part of my income is through Airbnb because I rent my
Oh,
apartment
okay.
through Airbnb when I'm not in Vienna and I
Which
travel a lot.
often you are traveling. Yeah.
Yes, this is actually also like a kind of the reason why it pushed me to travel. And it doesn't really push me to travel more, but knowing that if you leave, then you will get at least so much money that you're spending outside in through your Airbnb income makes you don't worry so much
Yeah,
about going on
of course.
holidays.
Does this help you a lot when it comes to wines that you travel? You explore other regions, different wines?
Yeah, so I have been traveling a lot to the wine regions recently, and like the main wine regions in France, Italy, Spain, for example. And in May I'll be 2 weeks in California, so I'll
Do
certainly
they have
visit.
good wine there? I
Of
see a lot
course,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Californian wine,
Although
but
California
still
is
the Europeans, I like them more.
California is difficult because California you have to think it is the U.S. Labor is actually expensive, but they have a lot of mechanization, and one of the biggest wineries in the world is actually in California, Gallo, by the way.
Yeah, I
So
know
this
it.
gives you the option. You can produce huge amounts of wine at a very low price, but the quality is quite poor.
Hmm.
But I mean, we're talking about wines for 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
and the wines that are actually made, let's say, properly or they're high quality, they're very expensive because labor is expensive. Plus, if you think Napa Valley and Sonoma are very close to San Francisco. It's a city with many people working in tech with very high
Yeah.
salaries, with a lot of money. We want to put it that way, and they can afford buying these wines.
Okay.
So you have this huge range. Well, not range because it's the middle part is actually missing somehow. You will have many very poor wines or not interesting wines, and actually you have a lot of premium wines that sometimes are maybe too expensive for what you get. That is true, but still
Yeah.
outstanding wines.
How is it with wines from Cape Town? Do you
Uh,
like them?
yeah, yeah. South Africa produces also very nice wines. In the New World, this California effect that I just explained happens in many regions. Yeah, but yeah, so you have like a lot of not so good wine and premium wine as well.
But sorry, to you, it's still this combination French, Italian, and Spanish wines that are the best.
I don't want to say the best, but France, Spain, and Italy produce together more or less 50% of the wine of the world.
More than 50%?
Approximately 50. I think it's like 47 or something.
That's a lot.
Yes.
Because comparing to the whole world, they are not such big countries.
Yeah, but I mean, in other countries, they don't like the wine areas are not so spread out.
Is it a matter of climate, right?
Yeah, of course. Climate
But
is the
how
most important
does
factor.
that's why Austrian wine doesn't convince me because the climate here is horrible.
No, it's not. I mean, it's style. Actually, Austrian wine, for some styles of wine, it's excellent. And global warming is actually helping the red wines are getting even better and better. It depends on the style. It's like Germany. So if you don't like Austrian wine, you will like German wines even less. But you also
I
consider
guess.
excellent in Riesling, for example, in this white grape. Um, yeah, but just to say again, this is why I focus so much on Italy, Spain, or France. Well, France basically produces, you could say, all the styles of wines in the world, plus every region is totally different to the other region in the country. So you could find every kind of wine in France, if you want to put it that way. And for the tradition, there are many regions that are very important, and the other parts of the world have copied these styles. So it's kind of, you could call it the origin of the wine. I mean, the origin is not true because where the wine comes from, blah blah blah. It's Georgia, Armenia, the border. It's still not clear. But yeah, but for the modern winemaking and modern styles of wine, France would be the base. And of course, Italy produces is the highest production of wine in the world, and Spain is the highest, like largest vineyard size. That means the most plantings. And these three
So
together.
Spain is quantity. It's first when it comes to
No, quantity actually in production of wine is Italy because they have higher yields. So when you think of Prosecco or some other wines, they produce like other Pinot Grigio from the north of Italy. You're like this. I don't even know the numbers, but like lots of grapes per hectare. In Spain, because of the drought and it's drier climate, you don't get so many grapes per hectare. But I mean, these two countries are kind of this. And then if you put some other countries in the EU, in the European region, and the European Union, this is 60 or 65% of the whole world production.
Okay. I would like to, let's say, to go through some facts with you that I asked or Googled because these are all known things for people who are not into details about wine. But we all heard of this, and I'd like to ask you now to tell me if these are true or not. So just tell me if our whole lives have been a lie or not.
Okay.
So is true that the white wine should be served cold or ice cold always?
I mean, most of these facts, I assume you will ask me, have a background, okay? So it might be true and up to a certain extent, but
you can say your answer.
In this specific case, yes, you drink white wines cooler than red wines, of course, but not ice cold, because the colder you drink the wine, the less perception of the flavor. It's the same with the food. You know, when you eat cheese and you just eat it right out of the fridge, it tastes less than what you have sitting outside for.
But I mean, comparing to living in room temperature, it's still better to be in the fridge.
Yeah. I mean, in the fridge, cool. Yeah.
So it's
because white wine, when you drink it, so it is what you expect from white wine. You want this freshness, you want this still some flavor and aroma, but you don't want to feel the alcohol, or you don't want to usually have such a heavy taste in your mouth. That's why cooling down, it gives the wine less body, if you want to put it that way. So it feels like with a lighter body and fresher, maybe.
Yeah.
And still, but it still should be, let's say, at 10 degrees plus minus to have enough taste and aroma. If you serve it too cold, the wine would taste like nothing.
10 degrees, definitely my fridge is not 10 degrees flat, so I should leave it in the fridge and then leave it out before serving.
But you know, when you serve it, usually by the fact of serving and the glass is at room temperature and you don't serve so much, then
there's
it will
the balance,
warm up like 2 degrees, something like that, you know. And
so
you can leave the bottle outside for a while. So you know, when waiters come and put like a ice bucket.
Yes, that's what I was just going to ask you. That's wrong to leave the bottle of wine in a restaurant in a bucket of ice?
Also, it depends on the wine style again. So white wine is not just white wine. You know, you have like white wines. If you, let's say, like an example, Grilla Muscatella, you should drink it rather cool because it's very aromatic anyways, and you want like a very delicate and light wine. Then yes, maybe 7 degrees is perfect. But if you're drinking a Chardonnay, and especially with oak aging, you're expecting a wine that is a fuller body and more complex. Then you want to drink it a bit warmer. So then you should
leave it out for some time.
Yeah, maybe 12 degrees or so. So I usually rather drink them a little bit warmer than cooler. But it again depends on what you like. If maybe the wine might feel too heavy or so, then just chill it a little bit. And the same with red wine, by the way. You shouldn't just drink red wine at room temperature because, first of all, what is room temperature? So you shouldn't be drinking red wines warmer than 18, 19 maximum degrees.
Well, now in the winter, room temperature is for sure more than 23, at least 22, 23.
Yeah, and that's actually too much. So usually I like to put my wines in the fridge for maybe half an hour.
How about in the cellar, in the basement?
Yeah, that's perfect, of course. Unless it's too cold, and then you take it out, and it might still be too cold, but then it's time to warm up. And this is talking about the full body wines. So, for example, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Riojas, and Brunelos. But if you drink other styles of red wines like Pinot Noir or I don't know, Grenache, or maybe some St. Glauben here and Zweigelt in Austria, you can cool them a little bit more because they are not so bold, so heavy wines, and you can drink them like at 14, 15 degrees.
So that's why they keep the wines in the cellar because of temperature?
This is not for, so this is the storing temperature and serving temperature. These are two things that have to be distinguished.
Okay.
So the storing temperature, well, serving temperature is what I just talked right now. And the storing temperature is, at any chemical process, the higher the temperature, the faster it goes, within other factors, but basically, right?
So they want to keep it smooth and slow, that's why they leave it in the
Yes,
cellar?
otherwise it would get too old too fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another thing that's very interesting to me.
Yeah. So you should, but also not too cold. You shouldn't keep them in the fridge because there's some other reasons why that's not ideal. So ideally, you would store your wines, if possible, at 12 degrees. And also a very important thing, in case anyone is willing to keep wines for a longer time or even age them, a more important thing than temperature is that there's no temperature difference within day and night or within different periods. So it's better to keep the wine at 15 or 16 degrees, like constantly, rather than have it at 12 and tomorrow at 14 and the next day at 10 and the next day at,
So it has to be a stable temperature.
Yes.
And another myth that it's not written in the stone, of course, but you can say your opinion about it, that white wine goes with fish and red wine goes with meat.
Mm-hmm. So in the beginning of the interview, you said about that I'm a wine tester, not a sommelier.
So this is a sommelier thing?
Yes. So pairing and service and like which glass you should use to which wine and everything. I actually have been talking about the service temperature. Of course, I have some knowledge about this, but this is the sommeliers thing. They work in service. This is a very important part of being a sommelier. Of course, we have lots of common things like the wine tasting, and we should know about the wine regions, varieties, blah blah blah.
But sommeliers, you're saying, are more for the table. You are more for how it's made.
Yes, a sommelier is a service person with a very strong focus on wine, but it's a service person. And in my education in the wine academy, we have no service at all. So we never talk about pairings. We never talk about. We just
combinations with food and stuff.
We don't really mention which.
But from you should have some experience just to answer this.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to this question because we didn't mention. Because of the more delicate the food is, the more delicate should be the wine. Kind of the heavier and more savory the food is, the more the heavier, the more body should have the wine. So classical steak with red wine with a bold heavy red wine, and a white wine with.
Which one would you call heavy red wine?
All the ones you mentioned before: Brunello, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Rioja, all of those.
Okay.
Yes, and if a light red wine would be Pinot Noir, St. Glauben.
So this is kind of true. Let's say
it's
mostly to keep it light when the food is light, and to keep it heavy when the food is heavy.
Yes.
This
is again, sommeliers they are they spend so much time with this, and it's a very important thing. Sometimes they make wonderful pairings that you wouldn't expect, because at the end of the day, the aim of it is that the combination enhances the taste of the food and the wine. So the wine tastes better and the food tastes better because you have chosen the best partner. And in the worst case scenario, it would be like, so for example, if you're eating a salad, which is has a lot of vinegar, it's a very sour food, and you drink a full-bodied red wine, then you would make the wine taste not good enough because of the acidity of the food, and then it wouldn't go perfectly. So you should always, or with the sweet things, for example, if you eat some some dessert, you should usually go for a sweet wine because it will go perfectly. Otherwise, the wine would taste too acidic because because the food is too sweet. You know. So the aim is to enhance it, and yeah, you can. But I mean, if you're drinking a wine and you Google this wine, you will find, I would say, quite easily
How to combine it.
Some page where they will tell you at least some basics what to combine it with.
Okay. How is it? We all think that screw up taps. I mean, the wines that are closed with screw up are garbage. But instead, the wines that have this how is it called?
Cork.
Cork, yeah.
Yeah.
They are better. Is it true? Because they are more isolated?
It's not true. So this is not. So you cannot say that. It is true that many wines that are not good are closed with screw caps. But basically, the reason is when you use a cork, you always have the problem that the wine could have the cork taint. That means the wine going bad. And of course, you as a producer, like as a wine producer, you don't want that. That means you will try to get better corks, but they also cost money. You know, they can even cost up to 50 cents or €1 per cork.
Per piece?
And yes. So if you're selling a wine for €2, just the maths don't go right. In screw cups, they will cost about around 10 cents, so it's still cheap, and they're fine. So this would say, okay, yeah. So then you're actually saying that the screw cup wines are cheaper and worse, but it's not true. So in countries with no cork tradition or not so much cork tradition, for example, New Zealand and Australia, they will have no problem to put like a screw cup to a Penfolds Grange, for example, in Australia, which is one of the most expensive wines of the country.
So still the wine is good, you're saying?
€700 the bottle.
Wow.
And it's with a screw cup. Also in Austria, right? In Austria, because of several reasons, people have no this bad image of screw cups as they do have in Italy and Spain, for example, especially. And they will also bottle premium wines with screw cups. There are actually some wineries I know that they say we only use screw cups. They have no problem, no cork taint.
Yeah,
perfect.
Actually, I tried many of them. They're good, but still, there's a feeling about the cork. Maybe it's also visually. It's more traditional.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course more elegant.
More elegant.
It's something you cannot.
It has to, because it's also a matter of the process when you open it. You're not opening a beer, which is something fast. You want to open a bottle of wine. You want to open it properly. Put a napkin around it, and then hold it to open. It's a nice thing to do. You spend 10 minutes there just doing that, and you enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it has certainly some, like some flair, and I mean, it's nice. I like corks, of course. Some people are more from the practical side and they say like, I mean, this is too much for me.
Yeah, those guys that are mentioned first that are drinking wine at 8 a.m. They want the screw cups, of course.
But also if you're working in a restaurant, if you're a wine producer and you're staying to a restaurant and they might not really have a sommelier that opens the bottle perfectly and presents it how it should be and all those things, then the normal waiter, let's say, he will or she will prefer to just open the bottle with the screw cup. That's it.
Which one? How much did the bottle? What was the most expensive wine that you have tasted or drank? The bottle. How much the bottle?
Yeah. So I cannot tell you exactly the number because
around
€1,000.
Around €1,000.
Yes,
that's more than my rent.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not a bottle I bought myself. I drank just myself. It was with a group of colleagues, of experts, and we got to taste this wine. And yeah.
Where was it from?
It was from Bordeaux.
From Bordeaux?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's among the most expensive wines in the world? Or?
Yes, definitely.
What's the price range for these out of the world prices? Do they have, could it be wines that cost like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000?
And even 25,000 sometimes.
Just because they're old, or?
So when it comes to this question, we should prolong the podcast for like 5 days.
We have time.
No, but so reasons for wine pricing is, of course, many other things in this world. Like how many people want to have this wine and how many wines are of this
Let's say
kind.
that the cost will be it's approximately the same for almost all the wines, plus or minus.
Let's say you can make a premium wine, but the production cost of a premium wine, like a really super top wine, shouldn't be over 30 euros.
So 25,000 euros, it's definitely not covering the costs. It's
Yeah.
selling something. So what is it
So
selling
this
was?
specific wine I'm in my mind, maybe any of you, if you're a bit more into the wine world, you have heard about this. Domaine de la Romane Conti. It's one winery in Burgundy, and they have like this monopole vineyard, Grand Cru vineyard, so it's the highest quality in Burgundy, and they have like this like every, let's say, a whole vineyard is owned for them. That's why it's called monopole. Romane Conti, so like Domaine de la Romane Conti wine. This is considered usually the most expensive wine. Sometimes there's some other wines that are sold in auctions that are more expensive because it's a large format or it's like a very special wine from a very special year, blah blah blah. It can be. But this wine, you could say it's generally the most expensive wine and the most wanted wine, and one of the most wanted wines. And this wine is so expensive because the production is small. This vineyard is about 1.5 hectares, so it's not too big. And everyone wants to have this wine, of course. So these wines are set like given, especially to gastronomy, but to some other wine shops and sellers by the winery. So if you have like kind of sold this wine properly during the last years, because it's a lot of black market and so on and so on, you will get a specific amount of these bottles, usually one or two per year, and then you will be able to have your wine in your restaurant. So if you're like a 3 Michelin star restaurant in Paris, you might have this wine in the list, probably. You can also find it here in Palais Coburg and in some other places. But the thing is, many people want, because there's enough people with enough money, and want to have this wine for themselves at their homes. So then they will search for it and they will go to the black market, to the secondary market.
Yeah.
And this is the wine that is the most wanted one. So of course, if you are able to get a bottle from whatever source and you are able to sell it through eBay or through an auction or through whatever, you will probably be able to charge up to 20, like, I mean, some vintages that are not so bad will go like a few thousand. But if it's like an old vintage, a very rare year, like a bottle a year where there are not so many bottles left, or so on, you are likely to charge about 20,000 euros.
Does it happen that they might be fake?
Yeah,
they say it's
some
50
standards.
years old wine, but it's fake.
So, of course,
how do you prove it before buying it?
Paying so much money, you have to trust your sources.
Just by trusting, there's no way you can prove it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are like some experts that they check the labels, and many of these bottles are numbered, so they can check with the winery. To be honest, I don't exactly know how this works, but there's some ways of checking it, because a few years ago, like around 15 years ago, there was a scandal with the person that faked these kind of wines for many years, and these wines are wines that everyone working in the wine business know, but many people have not tasted, as me, for example.
Yeah.
So, if someone comes and claims to have all this experience and so on and so on, and he's faking these bottles and kind of bottling them himself, and so
what's the thing that, for example, if I was an oligarch or something, they would buy a 25,000 euro bottle of wine, even though that was fake. I wouldn't notice it because I just have the money, I don't have the knowledge, and I would actually believe that this is the best wine I've ever drank because it costed so much.
Yeah, exactly. This is what happens in Russia or China.
Wow.
In China, it's probably not with this wine. I mean, of course, sometimes, but especially with the Bordeaux. So this is the reason why Bordeaux wine is so expensive, because of the Chinese. Because they also specific chateaux, specific producers that are very, very wanted. For example, Chateau Mouton Rothschild. It's like every Chinese person wants to drink this wine, and this is the reason also why it gets so expensive sometimes.
And what is the oldest wine that you drank? How old was it?
The oldest, I mean, I've drank some of the 60s, might be
The
the oldest.
60s?
Yeah. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, the one I have in my mind right now was 64 Marques de Murrieta, so it's a Rioja.
Does it
Yeah,
really taste very different?
yeah, of course, with the age, tastes very different. Still, it was good to drink. I mean, it wasn't in the optimum, of course. It was already, like getting weaker and weaker and weaker, but it had still enough freshness, and it was
Yeah.
it
Very
was good to
curious to
drink.
try a very old wine.
Hmm.
But how is it that this is another all-known fact that if you wake up the next morning and you have an hangover, it's
Hmm.
probably because the wine that you drank last night was garbage. Could
Mm.
it be that the wine was good, but you as a person can have a headache?
So
You can support wine, or
the most important thing for the headache is to be, so the more wine you drink, the more headache you have. That's, I think,
it doesn't matter even if the wine is good.
yeah, there are some facts, but I mean, yeah. So some people say it's because of the sulfates. Yeah, might be the reason. Some other claim, and apparently this is more. This is what I think more to be the reason are the bio, like the amines, the bio genomics. Yeah, like so. Ah, I wouldn't expect this technical
That's okay. I don't need it
explanation
technical.
right
I
now.
just wanted, for example,
So
if
some
I wake up with an hangover, I don't necessarily have to blame the wine. Could happen.
probably you drank, you didn't drink enough
It
water.
just
That,
the
that might,
hydration could be.
yes, that's usually the case. But for some people, it's more they're more susceptible, even though they will like do exactly the same as the previous day, and this day they are waking up and they have like a stronger headache. It might be because this wine. So in case of natural wines, organic wines, and especially because these kind of wines usually or many times um, fermented with spontaneous fermentations, these yeasts that ferment, they produce some other substances that might produce headaches. So it's actually against what some people think about organic and biodynamic and natural wines, especially biodynamic and natural wines. That doesn't mean that all these wines will give you headache. No,
Yeah.
not at all. But if you drink like a, let's say, traditionally made wine that is of enough quality, because if the grapes were not good enough or they were like this is very low quality wines, you will have this aminos anyways. So this will,
Something. Do you drink anything else but wine?
of course,
You drink
yes.
beer?
Of course, yes. I
Yeah.
like beer very
You don't
much.
just drink wine anymore?
No, no. So when I'm kind of tired and feel like every time I drink a wine, I somehow analyze it without wanting to. It's just like automatic, and it requires more attention. So if I'm really meeting some friends in a bar and I don't want to, think about wine at all, I just drink a beer because then I would just drink it.
So it's
drink.
more that you're not gonna think of anything. Just get me a beer, because if it's a wine, then you're gonna start analyzing it.
Yeah, I mean, not like a really freak level, but yeah, I would definitely think, okay, this one, how it is, the quality.
Yeah.
And I also like whiskey very much.
Mm.
So I drink scotch in the evenings, many times after dinner.
Maybe with a cigar.
No, I don't.
You don't smoke? Oh, okay.
No. But I like scotch, and I also like gin very much. I know it's a trend, but I fall into it.
Okay.
I like gin tonic very much. I don't drink so much gin tonic actually.
Now you only need the cap, and you're definitely a picky blinder. So, but if let's say me or other people would like to learn a bit about wines, not become an expert, just know enough. For example, when you have a car, you have to know enough to change your own wheels. Same thing with the wine. Some people would like to know enough just to choose their wine in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Where can we do this? What can we do about this? Do you do like seminars or classes?
Yeah.
But
So
really basics, not insights on the chemistry side. Just for us that we are total ignorant and would like to know a bit more. We like wine, we'd like to know more about it, but we don't know how.
yeah. So there are definitely lots of ways, and there are several ways of learning more about wine. So in my case, I started through myself, like breeding and trying different wines and breeding why does it taste like this. It was kind of um, self learning. I mean, nowadays you have lots of information online, but if you don't have the time or the patience, or you want something to guide you because you
Yes,
want,
you just want to go there once a
yeah.
week.
So you could, so in the wine school that I visited, it's the Wine Academy, so Wine Academy from Austria. They're based in Rus, but they also have like a school in Krems. And up to a certain level, they also offer it sometimes in Vienna. So that's a good option. There are four levels, and I mean the four level is very very high, so you will be a wine expert. But if you do the first one, it's called basis seminar, so like basic seminar. And I'm not sure if you can do it in English. What I think you can, but I'm not sure. I mean, maybe you
Well,
can
if
check
there
it.
are enough people
Yeah,
to go
so
there.
this is Wine Academy, and this would take, I think it is 2 days. I didn't really do it because
2 days.
Two days, yeah. So when I skipped that level because I already had it,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can do that. It doesn't cost.
But
too
you
much.
don't do this yet? Are you thinking about doing kind of seminars or classes like this
And
yourself?
Yeah, exactly. And otherwise, if anyone is interested, you can contact me. I do wine tasting, so I do like more, let's say, didactical, so always with the wine, and I can like fit to the group's interests or necessities. So I will go to the questions you have. So I have done this in the past several times. The last time was with a group of Americans from the American embassy. I got very good feedback, so
Nice.
apparently they also liked it very much. And yeah, and it was a very interesting group because so the wine tastings I have done in the past, they were of a higher level, you know, either with colleagues or people that would know more about wine. But this time, there were some of them that they just drink wine, but I think they even didn't know how you make sparkling wine. So what I was explaining in the beginning, double fermentation in the bottle. So and it was for me also very interesting to go down in the level and explain that to everyone. So this is something I can do. So if anyone is interested,
you maybe can make a program for a few people, come together one day a week or something. Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
if there are enough interesting people willing to pay for this, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I have my tasting room kind of. So my where I live in my apartment in the base is like the ground floor, not basement, but ground floor. There's a room that I have set for wine tastings. So yeah, I did. I was not thinking of doing like let's say an official course with other people. With me, usually I've been contacted through a group of people that wanted to do someone. And so
why not? You can, this app that is called Meetup that you create events. I will talk to you about that later. It's very interesting in your case. You can use it very much.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, it was a very interesting conversation. I really believe that I learned a lot, but this is a lot for me that I had no idea. I didn't know much before, so
I hope so. I hope you learned.
Yeah. I think I learned. I learned. Now I will trust more the wines that are with screw caps.
Definitely.
I didn't trust them so far.
Especially for whites.
Yeah, and I will leave my white wine outside when I'm drinking it on the table, not on ice.
I mean, yeah, after a while it would get warm, but not just serve and then go straight to the ice again, because I mean it depends on how long it is on the glass too,
And the glass stays for 3 minutes with
exactly.
me.
So if it takes 3 minutes in the glass, then you can definitely leave the bottle outside for a while. Yeah, and especially again depending on the wine style. So I don't know which white wine you would drink. Could you tell me some white wines you would like to drink?
I like the most recent one that I drank. Is the one that I have already open at home. It's Gelber Muscatler.
Yeah.
Before this was a Pinot Grigio.
Pinot Grigio, yeah.
And then that was the first white wine for this season, because before this was cold, so I was still drinking red wine.
Okay.
And as I said, I pick the Riojas very much. I like them a lot.
In the case of these two white wines, it is true that you should drink them rather quite chilly. So maybe like
actually this Pinot Grigio cold was very very good. I don't think I'm gonna leave it out of the fridge.
Yeah, Pinot Grigio, it's a wine style, if you
Is
want to
that
put it that way.
is it the region now, or it's the
In
grape?
both Gelba Muscatella and Pinot Grigio are grape varieties. So
Oh,
Pinot
okay.
Grigio, it's the Italian name of the grape Pinot Gris
Yeah.
in French, or Grauburgunder or Ruländer in
Mm.
German. But depends on where it comes from. The style is totally different. So if it's called Pinot Grigio,
I think this was
it's from the north of
Tuscany.
okay,
I'm not sure.
it was not from north of Italy, maybe like Veneto.
Maybe
or
I
Friuli,
mixed it with something else.
Friuli. Usually, most of it comes from that region, from Friuli and Veneto, so like the northeast of Italy. And these wines are made to be very light, and they are not very aromatic. So Grigio Muscatella will be very aromatic, but Pinot Grigio
This is a
not.
bit sparkling. I don't like it very much.
Okay.
At least not for everyday use.
So that one you can actually even drink it colder if you want, because it is a wine that doesn't have so much taste anyway, so you can just drink it colder. Gelba Muscatella, yes, cold because it should be elegant and floral and fresh. But yeah, maybe not 6 degrees, maybe like 8 or even 9, because then you have like this beautiful aromas, this beautiful nose, as you
Maybe
said.
I will just leave it outside the window so it can stay in the temperature of the weather that is.
Always avoid the sun. Direct sunlight is not good.
Yeah,
for
no
wines.
sunlight, of course. Well, you can learn more from Iker and ask him questions or plan with him classes. I don't know. Of course, his name will be in the description, and I will tag him, of course, on Instagram, so you can follow him and learn more about wines from him.
Yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I am passionate about wine, as you hear before, so this was my decision. So I like to share my passion with everyone.
Thank you very much for being with me.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Ali.